listen.
Never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Get on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
All right, there's no human being on the planet I'd rather be talking to right now more than JP Ricciardi. That's a fact. It's a fact. All right, JP. First of all, how are you? Good?
I'm great. How you doing?
I'm great. I couldn't be better. So I always enjoy your expertise. I have every single time I've sat down and talked with you about so many things. But one of the things I want to talk about today, JP, is something that you stake claim to one of the best in the history of baseball at. You ready? You ready?
Go ahead.
You ready? All right. Waiver trades. Right?
Non-existent.
I know. Well, that's what I want to relive. I want to relive the waiver trade world that we had, which was like it made everything so much better. But from your point of view, it certainly spiced things up, and it was so complicated and convoluted. But the reason why I say that you were among the best in the world at the waiver trade, because you made one of the best waiver trade deals of all time. Correct?
Which one? Alex Rios?
Bautista.
No, Bautista wasn't a waiver trade.
It's August.
No, Bautista was just a straight out trade.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it wasn't a waiver trade. But we did get rid of Alex Rios.
Okay.
And $64 million and a contract because what happened was the Blue Jays ownership decided to give us money.
What year was this?
This was like 2007.
Okay.
So this was like 5 years into my reign. We had no money. They decided to give us money, which is a whole nother story. So we were able to do some things. We extended Alex Rios. We extended Aaron Hill. We were able to extend Halladay. So we started to do some things to build our club to be competitive, going from no money to finally having some money. And so the following year, they came to us and said, we want to cut our payroll back again. And I said, well, we just did all this stuff. You gave us the okay. We extended Hill, we extended Rios, we did Halladay. We made all these contractual obligations. They said, well, if you can get some of those out of here, that would be helpful. So, we just signed Rios to a big deal. And so I said, okay, we'll try. So we put Rios on waivers. And the White Sox claimed him.
Yeah.
And Kenny Williams called me up and said, hey, we claimed Rios. We know you're going to pull him back. And I says, Kenny, he's yours. He says, what? I go, no, we're not pulling him back. He goes, he's owed $64 million. I said, I know that. I said, that's why he's yours. He goes, really? I go, yeah. He goes, well, we like the player. He said, well, I said, you better like him because now you got him. So because ownership money, we had to let Rios go. And we just signed him the year before.
Did Kenny really want, I mean, did he?
I think he liked him.
Yeah, but did he know that he was, when, you claim him a lot of times just to claim him, right? But was he like, oh crap, we have to pay $64 million for him?
I think there was almost like a gentleman's agreement that everybody gets pulled back.
Yeah.
But I think some people finally started saying, why should we pull anybody back? If you want them, take the salary. So in our case, we just said, your timing is poor because our ownership wants to get rid of money. So you got them.
So I want to just first of all, great story. So another reason why your insight on this is awesome. But I also want to go back to the Bautista thing. You have to explain why this wasn't a waiver deal. It was on August 21st. So, so traded by the Pittsburgh Pirates to the Toronto Blue Jays for a player to be named later. The Toronto Blue Jays sent Robinson Diaz to the Pirates to complete the trade.
So it must have been. He must have cleared waivers, and then at that point you could trade somebody.
Yeah. So I'm giving you credit. I'm trying to build you up.
I appreciate it because it is. As far as Blue Jays history, it's got to be. Not blowing my own horn here, but it's got to be the greatest trade in Blue Jays history.
Well, again, if you Google, which I did, the best waiver trade deadlines of deals of all time, it's on the list. Like it's on the list. By the way, Jeff Bagwell, Larry Anderson, another one. John Smoltz, another one. David Cohn, another one. So, yeah, I mean those are going back a little bit.
I forgot, but so what happened with Bautista was I like Bautista. Bautista, we played against him in spring training all the time. So I told Alex Athopoulos, who was my assistant at the time, I said, we just got to keep an eye on Bautista because he's not going to play a lot in Pittsburgh. He'd be a perfect guy for us. Now, keep in mind, we did that with Scudero. We traded for Scudero, and we gave him an opportunity to play, and he became a very good player and ended up, being a really good player for the Giants and making a lot of money. But he played great for us. So I told Alex, I said, this is going to be our next Scudero. So keep an eye. If these guys want to move him, stay on top of him, and let's just keep watching him because he can play third, he can play second, first in the outfield. I think there's a little bit more in this guy than what's, because he's not getting at bats. So when that opportunity came up, we were able to make the trade. But he had to clear waivers, and Robinson Diaz was a minor league player. He didn't have to clear waivers.
Right.
So obviously, Bautista went through the waivers, and I think what happened was he either cleared waivers or we claimed them. I can't remember now. We must have claimed them.
Yeah, so let me I mean, we've been talking about this, but I think people maybe don't even remember how this worked. I want to try to go through it, but you can obviously articulate it better than I can. You have the non-waiver trade deadline where you can just make trades, no big deal. But then when the trade deadline goes by, there's another month. There was another month. This stopped in 2019, and you would have to put players through waivers. And like to your point with Rios, if you put them through waivers, you take the chance of them getting claimed. Most of the time they weren't getting claimed. And then if they don't go through, then once they get through waivers, now they can be dealt before the end of the month. Now, one thing, JP, is that almost everybody was put through waivers, right? Correct. I mean, teams would just flood the waiver wire, right? Is that right?
Yeah. So I used to struggle with this because I used to say, why do we want to put Roy Halladay on waivers?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in baseball is going to claim Halladay.
Yeah, which by the way, we should say that also if a team did claim like a Roy Halladay, you guys can pull him back, right?
You can pull him back.
Right.
So it to just see who had interest. So maybe in the off season they could do some things, but I used to always say, why do we want to put Roy Halladay on waivers? That's kind of a no-brainer. So what happened is exactly what you said. At certain times, everybody was put on waivers in August. Teams could claim the player. If you wanted the player to go to them, you could just go away. You could let them take the player and create a trade, or you could pull the player back. So there was a lot of deals that were still made in August. They were smaller deals, but I really missed that. I wish they would bring it back.
Yeah, because like I said, Verlander was another one in recent. I think maybe that last year, Verlander was a big deal. Like that deal was a waiver deal. But so the strategy, from what I understand, it was a lot of we're gonna put. I've heard teams that they just said we're gonna flood it with names, and almost like it's gonna be overwhelming. I don't know if that's a thing, if that was a thing or not. I don't know.
Well, I don't really think it was a thing because everybody was paying attention to it. Yeah. So you read the name.
Read it on the fax machine. So,
but some of them were, for instance, like when we got rid of Rios was making $64 million.
Yeah.
So some of it was, I don't want to put a claim in for this guy, because what if the team just says you got him? You now got $64 million on your payroll. So we didn't take a lot of players in Toronto because we only had a $50 million payroll.
Do you
But
remember?
when the
Do you remember claiming anybody that you like? Oh, maybe I'll.
Yeah, we put claims in on guys that we thought could help us, but we never. There was very, very few deals that we were able to make.
The other a subtle part of this JP too was that from what I understand, MLB wanted this so tight-lipped, like who was being put on waivers, and in the media it was a joke because like you could have like someone say, "Oh, Roy Halladay was put on waivers," and you could post that, and everyone would freak out. But everyone knew that everybody was being put on waivers. But from what I understand, there was a big fine. MLB was like, "Hey, you cannot leak who's on waivers." Like they were obsessed with this for some reason. So,
Well, like you said, it didn't matter because if you were a writer, all you had to do was make a guess and say, the Blue Jays put Scott Rowland, Vernon Wells, and so on waivers, and you'd probably be 90% right. So I don't know how Major League Baseball would be able to say, teams are saying it or not saying it because it was basically getting out there. I don't know. I miss it. I wish that they would go back to it because there's a lot of ways you could help your team in that last month or even and I also believe if you claim those guys, they had to be on your after September 1st, they couldn't play them.
right. Yeah. I mean, you had to be on the postseason roster. It's good. There was I mean, you can pick guys up in August, right? It could happen, or there's some trades were made after August 31st, but they're not eligible for the postseason.
Right. They're not playoff eligible.
But one of the things is so this talk about right now building a team. The challenge of building a team now, JP, where it's like, hey, this is why the trade deadline is so important. More important than ever because this is what you have. The Red Sox pick up Nathaniel Lowe. That's like a gift. And now I saw who just get Eric Fetty. Like Fetty gets let go, I think by Atlanta. And like, okay, well maybe that's somebody. There's guys who are let go, but like you can't rely on anything like that now.
No, that's really just a stroke of luck that happens. The other thing was once you're put on waivers and you're pulled back, you can't be put on waivers again. So you basically had one shot to put guys on waivers. And there was a little bit of an art to it because if you put someone, say you wanted to trade Roy Halladay, you put Roy Halladay on waivers on April 1st and on August 1st, that way, if teams really want him, they realize they got him for August and September. If you waited till August 31st, so you tried to put guys on to entice teams to say, hey, I'll get this guy for 2 months if I actually can get him. And that was a little bit of a cat and mouse game too.
Was there a team that you thought was more aggressive at this time than others or a GM or anything?
No, not really. I just think it was at that point, it was basically anything to help me right now or something down the line in the future.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there was a lot of waiver claims done. Not big stuff, but little stuff. And the little stuff is what you do, like right now with Lowe with the Red Sox. That's a really good move.
Yeah. So as a GM, how does that work? Where obviously you have other people in the front office monitoring this, but are you just like, all right, who got claimed? Like, in other words, did you have someone designated to monitor this whole thing and let you know?
We get them every day. So we get waiver. We get who was put on waivers. And then we go through it, look at it and say, okay, we got interest in this guy, or we can't afford this guy, or we know they're going to pull this guy back. So every day you just go through it. It was a constant. And like I said, August 1st through August 15th, there was a lot of names. From the 15th to the 31st, the names kept getting less and less and less.
Yeah. All right. So now you have this. Now you have to build the team without doing this, and that leads you to we were talking a little bit about this about calling guys up, and for you, when you look at a minor leaguer who hasn't played in the major leagues, and you're relying on them at the most important time of the year, how do you view that? And before you answer this, one of the things is, I think that I was talking to Crochet about this the other day because he was this guy, right? 2020, like he was called up to pitch in the postseason. It was the weird COVID year, but still, he said what he regrets is not integrating himself with the team. He's called up and he's just feeling like everybody's older than him, everyone's more experienced than him. He regrets not integrating himself and understanding that he's being called up for a reason. So for our team, now I think more than ever, when a team calls up a young player, there's not that hazing, there's not that go sit in the corner or whatever. You get called up, you got to help the team. But from the executive's point of view, how did you view that dynamic?
Well, it depends on what time of year you're calling someone up.
I'm talking about like August, September, pennant race. You need the guy because you need let's say you need a bullpen arm. This is our best option because we can't trade for anybody.
Right. Well, I think it's pretty simple. You basically are bringing that guy up because you think he's going to help your club. And if the guys in that clubhouse don't realize that you're trying to help the club, then you probably got guys who don't understand what's going on. I think that's why you got to be very judicious who you bring up, because to bring somebody up that can't throw strikes or doesn't command the ball real well or is a big swing and miss guy or is a defensive liability, you're sending the wrong message to your club. So you got to be really careful who you bring up, and you got to know you have someone who's really, really close to being able to be a complete big league player to help you, especially like I said, right now, every game's critical and you can't be, it's not the time to have a trial camp.
How much do you weigh the long haul for a guy? Which is they're always weighing that, right? Whenever you bring someone up, how is this going to impact them? Because we need them for years to come. But, it's, you need that guy. You call him up that he might help you. But what happens if things go south? Is this going to tarnish this guy going forward? Because you know how baseball organizations are. They're like, oh, we have to have sustainability. We have to have these guys for the long haul. How much do you have to weigh that?
I think you have to weigh it out. That never really bothered me because I thought if you're secure in your evaluation, then you should know your players better than anybody else. So I never worried about knowing our players or evaluating our players, whether that was in Oakland or with the Mets or with Toronto. I think your evaluation skills are what really stands out at that point. So there's time. I remember Billy said to me one time when I was at Oakland, he goes, go to Tacoma and watch Tim Hudson and tell me if he's ready for next year. So it was probably August. And I go to see Hudson in Tacoma. And Billy calls me up. He goes, what do you think? I said, Billy, he's ready right now. I said, you don't have to bring him up. I said, there's no reason that he can't be in our rotation next year, but you could bring this kid up right now in September and he's going to be fine. I said, but don't worry about this kid being ready. He's ready. And more importantly, he's ready right now if you want to bring him up.
And so would that be, you have any other examples for that run in Oakland? I can't remember, obviously you had playoff runs. Like, was there anybody else, like any young player that you integrated?
Not that I could think of. Rob, I got 45 years floating around in my brain.
I know,
can't remember,
but it's all genius. But those are where the good stories are.
I know, I get you, but I can't remember every single.
No. I hear you. I mean, the Hudson thing's a good example, right? I mean, for me, JP, like I have ones that come to mind of good and bad. Craig Hansen, bad.
Yep.
Right? I'll give you another one. 16. Yeah, 16. Remember Yohan Moncada?
Yeah.
Yeah. Moncada, top prospect in baseball. Stealing, I think he was like 58 for 16 stolen bases. Travis Shaw's playing third base for the Red Sox. They're like, you know what? We're not happy with how Travis Shaw's playing. We're going to put Yohan Moncada. I think he was like straight from Double-A at third base. And so they put him at third base. It's a big deal. Wheels fall off. not only isn't he hitting, but he's making errors, and also this guy who was supposed to be this designated base stealer in the postseason, if nothing else, is getting picked off all the time. So
Yeah, that's why I think it has to go down to your evaluation of players. You have to trust the minor league people. You have to trust. What I think is missing in baseball today, I think, in my career, every organization had a right-hand man or two for a general manager. When we used to make trades in Oakland, Billy would send me out, Sandy would send me out and sit on the guys, 2 days in Cincinnati, 2 days in LA, 2 days, sit on the guys that we were thinking of making trades for leading up to the trade deadline and give them my evaluation. Obviously, they were doing their statistical analysis, which is what you should do, but they wanted boots on the ground, being able to see players. Today, I don't think that is being utilized. I'm talking some really good baseball guys that, Bill LaJoy, Brian Sabian, I could go on and on and on. But these guys were able to tell the general manager, I don't know if this guy can help us. I really think this guy can help us. This is how I would use this guy. And I think it's a lost art in our game. And I really think organizations are missing out by not having that type of guy. I do a ton of AAA games. I can count on my hands how many scouts have been in the ballpark.
I was just going to say that.
That.
Yeah. I mean, like, when I first met you, you were always in the media dining room, always talking to people. You obviously were out with the scouts, and there was the whole media dining room was filled with scouts. And what's weird, JP, is that you're right. It's 1, 2, 3, maybe you might see, but then the playoffs roll around and you see 6 or 7 of them. Well, okay, why is it why? Because these guys, you got to give these guys something to do. Why don't you have some of them do this stuff during the regular season?
Well, I think you're opening up a whole different can of worms now, but I think what we've lost is, I'll give you a quick story that would never, ever happen today. Now, Billy Beane and I go back a long way. We played together. We're dear friends. So Billy trusts my baseball evaluation, and Sandy did too, because over time you prove your worth. So we have a trade going with the Mets. We're going to send Kenny Rogers to the Mets. And Billy says to me, they've given us 3 names, Octavio Detel, Dan Murray, another guy. He goes, go over to minor league camp. They're going to pitch these guys for you all in one day at different times. So I go, and Dan Murray pitches, and Dan Murray's a friend of mine, and I work with him with the Giants. But Dan Murray's a 4A guy.
Yeah.
Well, Billy, I said, forget Dan Murray. Take him off the list. He's a 4A guy. I saw the other guy. I said, this guy's nothing. He goes, what do you think of Dotel? I says, I like Dotel. I said, but lefties are going to get Dotel because they're going to be able to lean out over the plate. He's side on. They see him a long way. He's going to crush right-handers. He's okay. If he's one of the guys we can get, I'd say take him. I said, Billy, I got a crazy idea. He said, what do you got? I said, in between these games, I just watched Jason Isringhausen pitch 5 innings. I said, his stuff is elite. He can't hold it beyond 2 innings. I don't think mentally he's built to be a starter. It's a plus fastball. It's a plus breaking ball. Eliminate everything else. Get Isringhausen in the trade, and let's make him a closer. The silence on the other end of the phone. Hey, Billy, you still there? Yeah, I'm just trying to think this through. He goes, you think he can close? I said, well, he's a tough kid. He's aggressive. He doesn't have a lot of time to think when he's good. I said, I think he's got a pretty good chance to close. We make the trade. Rick Peterson calls me up one night, I think a couple of scotches in, and he said, you really think Jason is, you know how hard it is to close? I said, yeah, this isn't my first rodeo. I said, you're the kind of guys that end up becoming good closers. Isringhausen closes about 10 or 12 games for us that year. The next year, he's got 45 saves. He makes the All-Star team. I call Rick Peterson up. I said, what do you think about Isringhausen closing now? But my point is, Billy Beane listened to a baseball guy, and he went with it. That would never, ever happen today.
It's
That's
sad.
what's
It's a good story. It's a
that's
good
what's missing
story.
in our game.
Yeah, it's a great story, and you're right. I mean, it's right. It's also it's like you know what? Well, what would happen is maybe they might get that suggestion, but then there'll be like 5 layers that you have to go through to say of analytics or whatever it is, and they might be paralyzed by it. And yeah, and by the way, they wouldn't probably say because you know how obsessed they are with starters now. Like you got to trade for someone. We got to at least try him out as a starter, and then until he can't start anymore, then we'll try him as a reliever. So you're right.
Well, but that goes back to the evaluation, Rob. If you know what a guy is, his second year in Pro Bowl, you know he's going to be a reliever. Why do we wait all this time to put him in the pen? And by the way, Chapman makes $10 million a year. There's other guys in the pen that make 12, 15, 17, whatever it is, Hater.
Yeah.
You're telling me that relievers aren't important too? So if they end up in the pen and they're good, which 80% of them end up in the pen, you're paying those guys too. So you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth.
Right. Well, and what did the Mets allocate a crap load of resources to at the trade deadline? Because they didn't have them.
For a guy that's going to walk away at the end of the year.
Right. Right. So why not? Why not? Hey, so last thing is you like you said, you've been watching a crap load of AAA games. And mostly, these Worcester Red Sox games, but obviously you see a bunch of other teams. Tell me some names that have jumped out to you. Like, and I know because I remember you saying about Roman Anthony, listen, I mean, we knew that Roman Anthony was going to be good, but I knew you were the one to me who said, this guy, these other guys are good. This guy's great. Like, so tell me some other guys that you've seen, doesn't matter what team they were on, that jumped out at you this year.
Oh, I'm gonna have to think now. I really like the Joe Mack kid with the Marlins. High pick. He was a catcher. Throws well. He's got power. He's going to be a frontline. The kid named Ertz, who reminds me, is just a really good bat the ball guy. Going to be a good hitter. Doesn't throw great, so outfield. I mean, he's going to play the outfield, but he's going to be a very good offensive player. I'm trying to just go through the teams as we speak. Oh boy, you caught me.
Did you see the kid from who was traded from Phillies, McAble, pitcher?
I didn't see Abel. Abel was pitching the day I was he got traded the day I was there.
Oh, okay.
But they got the outfielder, Carl Crawford's son's going to be a good player.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What do you think of him, Justin Crawford?
A lot of power.
Yeah,
not a lot of power, but a lot of contact. Runs well. I think he's going to be a Kenny Lofton type guy. Plays a really good outfield. Steals a lot of bases. Good bat the ball skills. Trying to think who else on that Philly team that. Oh boy, you got to throw some names at me.
Well, how about some of the Mets guys that were dealt? Drew Gilbert.
I really liked Gilbert in college. I
Yeah.
really thought he was going to be a frontline superstar. But the more I see him in pro ball, he doesn't hit lefties really well. I think he's a very good defender. He's a plus defender with some pop. I think he's ultimately going to be at best a platoon player in the big leagues. He'll only be an everyday player if he can start hitting left-handed pitching. Good player, plays with high energy. Probably not going to be the player that I originally thought he was going to be when I saw him at Tennessee. Tidwell, it's just a matter of throwing enough strikes. Good arm. But you know what else we're seeing in the minor league level is we see a lot of guys that throw hard, but not a lot of guys who know how to pitch.
Yeah, well.
And, the strikeout numbers are high because everybody strikes out. So sometimes the numbers are a little misleading. But the numbers that aren't misleading is look at the walks. There's guys with 50 innings, 60 punch-outs, and 35 walks. That's going to only magnify at the big league level. So velocity is definitely up, but there's a lot of guys whose fastballs have velocity, but they're not going to play.
Well, let me ask you, the last guy we talked a little bit about was Peyton Tolley, because he looks the part, right? Like he looks the part. Big 48-year-old lefty, looks like Tom Selleck. So, which by the way, JP, that's what he said. He said he grew the mustache. That was an homage to Tom Selleck, dressed up as Magnum PI for Halloween a couple of years ago. So,
I
yeah,
like it.
yeah. So, but he looks the part, and but look at the part is one thing, and also the other thing with him, and I'm anxious to get your perspective of it. He's still starting, but a lot of people say, well, just don't get it this complicated. Throw him in the bullpen, do the David Price 2008 thing, but maybe he can be a starter. What's your take on him?
I really like Tolley. I think Tolley is definitely a starter, and I think they'll make a big mistake if they try to pitch him out of the pen. I would try to pitch him right now, put him in the rotation. He could come up to the big leagues. He's the most big league ready guy that I've seen that they have down there. His fastball plays. He reminds me of David Wells. He's got that big David Wells body. He's athletic like David Wells was athletic. He's a former two-way guy. Those guys always find a way to figure it out. But I like the fastball. His fastball plays. It comes from a funky slot. It's on top of the hit is quick. He can go up in the zone. He can go down in the zone with it. He's got a really good changeup, a good breaking ball. The only thing I saw from him that I think they just have to be cognizant of all the time is, and this is a total scouting viewpoint, when he gets offline and his delivery, he has a tendency to just keep things arm side away. When he stays in line, his ball sticks in the zone. His extension is good. His plane to the hitters is good. So the only thing for him is this repeatability of staying in line in his delivery. But he is the most ready pitcher they have to go to the big leagues right now and help. I think worst part, he'll be in the big leagues next year, pitcher behind, Bayo and Crochet, and he'll be there. But if you want a jolt, you want to take a shot, he's the guy who's ready to do it.
So what is the drop-off deadline for bringing him up to give him a shot at pitching big games potentially in the postseason? You know what I'm saying? So I think you're saying call him up right now, right?
Well, I look at who their fifth starter is right now. He's better than their fifth starter.
Right.
So the other thing is I don't have their schedule in front of me, but he pitched, I think I saw him on Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. He would be scheduled to go Wednesday, but minor leagues to get the extra day. So his day to throw is Thursday. And I would not hesitate to bring this guy to the big leagues.
Yeah.
So you could probably get 5 starts out of him between now and the end of September. And he, to me, is better than everything they're running out there right now as a fifth starter.
You would love him. I forget about pitching. JP, he had a JP Ricciardi great quote. He had he said, the carrot's in front of me. I can smell the carrot. I can smell the carrot. It's a great line.
I tell you what, he's a good athlete for a big guy. He bounces around pretty good. He competes on the mound. There's no downside. He's an older kid. Look, here's the difference in baseball today. Most advanced college players are getting to the big leagues in 1 to 2 years. There's no more 4 and 5, unless you pitch for the Pirates or some of these teams that they're so into controlling guys. But look at all the guys that have gotten to the big league so quick. This guy's going to be another, regardless if he gets there this year, he's definitely going to be there next year. So you're talking a guy in 2 years. So this kid is going to be able to handle the jump more than, say, a high school kid.
All right. Well, your brand has never been hotter. I'm going to give you credit for one of the greatest waiver trade deadline moves of all time, even if you don't take credit for it. But thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, great being on. Nice seeing you, Rob. And I'm sure, you and Alex are in Worcester all the time. That's what I love about you.
I love it. Listen, there's only one place that gets prime rib on Friday nights. It's not Fenway Park. So, all right, thanks.